Welcome, dear viewers, to Poetry Blows Your Blues Away. Friends, the poem we are going to read and enjoy today received great admiration throughout Europe. Voltaire called it the most beautiful and the most useful and the most sublime didactic poem ever written in any language. Writing to Voltaire, Rousseau said about the poem, "It softens my ills and brings me patience." Kant was fond of the poem and would recite long passages from it to his students. The poem was published anonymously, and even the poet's critics raved about his genius, taking him for a new poet. Without further preamble, let me come straight to the point. Today's poem is The Essay on Man, written by the Augustan poet Alexander Pope. I have selected a passage from the poem for you. Here it goes. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man, placed on this isthmus of a middle state, a being darkly wise and rudely great, with too much knowledge for the skeptic's side, and too much weakness for the stoic's pride. He hangs between, in doubt to act or rest, in doubt to deem himself a god or beast, in doubt his mind or body to prefer, born but to die and reasoning but to err, alike in ignorance his reason such, whether he thinks too much or too little. Chaos of thought and passion all confused, still by himself, abused or disabused, created half to rise and half to fall, great Lord of all things, yet a prey to all, sole judge of truth, in endless error hurled, the glory, just and riddle of the world. That's the poem, that's the passage. The Essay on Man, friends, is an epistolary poem, a poem written in the form of a letter addressed to Henry Bolingbroke. It is written in heroic couplets. Pope's main argument is that man should not presume to scan God. Arrogantly, egotistically, excited and elated by the knowledge he has acquired from science. If he tries to do so, he cuts a sorry figure. He will end up in making a fool of himself. He cannot complain or explain about his position in the great chain of being, and must accept that whatever is right. Pope tries to vindicate the ways of God to man. Pope shows man his place. He admonishes him to mind his own business. Now let us analyze the poem couplet by couplet. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man. Pope gives a clarion call to mankind, loud and clear. You are not to scan God, scrutinize him, or examine him, or assess him. You had better study yourself. Look into yourself, introspect. There ends your boundary. Draw a boundary there. Probe into yourself. Never ever exceed it. Never ever try to pass a judgment on God, the Creator. Why? Pope explains the reason in the next lines. Placed on this isthmus of a middle state, a being darkly wise and rudely great, says he. Man is placed on this isthmus of a middle state. Isthmus means a narrow strip of land connecting two great masses of land. For example, Panama connecting the two Americas, North and South Americas. Here Pope means to say that man is in the middle, in a limbo, neither here nor there. He hangs in between, a being darkly wise and rudely great, he says. Ignorantly intelligent, arrogantly powerful. Look at the antithetical expressions used by Pope. Pope makes use of a figure of speech called antithesis. Pope continues describing the paradoxical state of man using antithetical sentences. Antithesis means two opposite ideas are put together in a sentence to create or achieve a contrasting effect. So, two opposing elements or countering arguments are juxtaposed through a parallel grammatical structure. Let's continue. With too much knowledge for the skeptic's side, with too much weakness for the stoic's pride. See, to man, knowledge is a curse. His knowledge makes him doubt everything. The more he knows, the more he doubts. So he becomes skeptical, too skeptical to believe anything. Skeptic is a person who doubts everything. At the same time, he is too weak to be a stoic too. He is too weak to bear his suffering stoically. Man is a weakling and an ignoramus. He hangs between, in doubt to act or rest, in doubt to deem himself God or beast. He hangs between skepticism and stoicism. He is tossed between doubt and decision. He cannot decide if he is a god or a beast. At times he is angelic. At times he is brute-like in his manners. In doubt his mind or body to prefer, born but to die, reasoning but to err. Man cannot decide which to prefer, his mind or body, because he is a combination of body and soul. Here I would like to quote a witty remark about mind and matter. What is mind? Doesn't matter. What is matter? Never mind. Body or soul, which to prioritize? He cannot decide. He takes birth ultimately to die. After all, he is mortal. Death is inevitable. Reasoning but to err. Reasoning here means thinking. The more he thinks, the more mistakes he commits. He reasons only to make mistakes. Though he is the only thinking animal under the sun, ignorance and intelligence are in equal proportions in him. Alike in ignorance, his reason such. Reason here means intellect. Whether he thinks too little or too much. Whether he thinks too much or too little, he only makes mistakes. We colorfully describe our mistakes as stepping stones to success. Each man's life is a bundle of mistakes and regrets. The result is chaos, confusion, worse, confounded. Chaos of thought and passion, all confused, still by himself, abused or disabused. He is a combo of emotion and intellect. He makes or mars his life. He has no one else to blame but himself. Abused or disabused. Created half to rise and half to fall, great Lord of all things, yet a prey to all. He is created half to rise and half to fall. Means he is full of hopes and expectations, but they never get fully fulfilled. Success and failure alternate in his life. He appears like the Lord of all things for a moment, seems to command everything, yet he falls a prey to everything. He falls because of a small flaw in him. He becomes a victim to trivial weaknesses. Sole judge of truth, in endless error hurled, the glory, just and riddle of the world. That's the concluding line of this passage. He has the discrimination to distinguish falsehood and truth, right and wrong, good and evil. Yet he is hurled into endless error, hurled headlong into the mire of mistakes. Pope concludes with this exclamation, man is the glory, just and riddle of the world. Man is the glory of the world, wonderful creature. He has achieved so many glorious deeds indeed. Yet he is the jest, J-E-S-T, means joke of the world. He is the butt of laughter. He makes a fool of himself. And riddle of the world. In short, he is the riddle of the world, means he is a puzzle, enigma, an unsolved mystery. So Pope advises us to solve our own mystery and not to meddle with or tamper with anything else or anybody else. Thus the poem is a satire on the vanity of man. Man has learned to fly in the air, dive deep into the oceans, scale the peaks of the mountains, but he has forgotten how to walk on earth, how to conduct himself on earth. In conclusion, friends, I would like to read out some more lines from the same poem, the essay on man. Here I go. Heaven from all creatures hides the book of fate, all but the pace prescribed, their present state. O blindness to the future kindly given, that each may fill the circle marked by heaven. In pride, in reasoning pride, our error lies. All quit their sphere and rush into the skies. All are but parts of one stupendous whole, whose body nature is, and God the soul. Who finds not providence all good and wise, alike in what it gives and what denies? All this dread order break for whom? For thee? Vile worm, O madness, pride, impiety. To him no low, no great, no small, he fills, he bounds, connects and equals all. Hope springs eternal in the human breast. Man never is, but always to be blessed. Friends, I read out these lines to inspire you to read the whole poem, the essay on man. That's all for now. I'll come back to you with yet another scintillating poem. Till then, happy poetry reading.